Ever since his speech at the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, the issues of development, peace enforcement, and emergency management have been among the priority guidelines of the policy of His Majesty King Mohammed VI towards the African continent, not only within the context of the Agenda 2063. Indeed, among the actions to mention led by the Kingdom of Morocco in Africa, we can mention the help to neighbors Tunisia within the context of the COVID 19 response. Other actions could be invoked, especially the peace enforcement tasks in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Central African Republic. Among the important topics I want to get back into when it comes to the United Nations, besides the work of the United Nations Security Council under the presidency of France, a quick snapshot at the summary of the United Nations Counterterrorism Week that took place from the 24th to the 30th of June. Besides the topics I spoke about on a previous video on June the 25th, I had the opportunity to discuss with colleagues several other critical issues in counterterrorism, such as within the context of the high level conference that was chaired by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on June the 28th, the high level conference of head of counterterrorism agency that was chaired by the Undersecretary General at UNOCT Vladimir Voronkov, the initiative of the Kingdom of Morocco with the new Office of Counterterrorism in Rabat. The goal of the office is training in Africa and reinforcing the capacity of African countries in counterterrorism efforts. There was also the parliamentary discussion at the Counterterrorism Week. Among other topics we had to speak about, I can mention the one related to integrating gender in cybersecurity and new technologies in the fight against terrorism, handling terrorist contexts towards transparency, preventing misuse of cyberspace and new technologies through development ideas, skills, and toolkits for practitioners. The 2021-2022 United Nations Multi-Year Appeal for Counterterrorism, a good report. Securing the vulnerable targets from terrorist attacks, challenges and opportunities of major sporting events, security governance. The demand of the 2020s, the new decade, and strengthening a criminal justice response to countering terrorism. Practicing repatriating, rehabilitating, and reintegrating women and children with links to the United Nations list of terrorist groups. I want to get back to the high level conference of heads of counterterrorism agencies to speak about some important points here, such as the international cooperation to address new and evolving counterterrorism challenges like the REMVE and terrorist content online, while upholding fundamental freedom of expression. That was brought by the Principal Deputy Coordinator Landberg from the Bureau of Counterterrorism of the United States Department of State. There was also a very good point related to proactivity and resilience in counterterrorism analysis to address the rapidly changing terrorist threat, a strategy brought by the Kingdom of Belgium within the United Nations Counterterrorism Week. Among the other topics, the one related to multilateral counterterrorism cooperation towards the United Nations Global Counterterrorism Coordination Compact, Global Counterterrorism Forum Partnership, an initiative of UNOCT and GCTF, prevention and misuse of the new communication platforms, making a case for fusion cells in terms of key takeaways for global partners, analyzing a new era by introducing CTC and CTED electronic assessments and the analytics tools, and international and regional corporations in the new decade. There are topics that I spoke about on previous videos were on this list. There are others that I have been furtherly analyzing. That's why I'm mentioning them here furthermore within this video, which is a snapshot of the synthesis of the United Nations Counterterrorism Week. The continuous discussion and action from this year's United Nations Counterterrorism Week will lead to expand the topics from the public sector perspective, as seen as the high level Political Forum 2021 that took place from the 6th to the 15th of July. One event that caught my attention in this context was the conference on the impact of COVID 19 on drugs and crime in terms of sustainable and resilient recovery through the lenses of the Commission on Narcotic Drugs and the Commission on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice. It was hosted by both commissions along with the permanent mission of Austria at the United Nations on July the 7th. Now, I want to speak a little bit about the UNODA actions, starting with the double anniversary related to the Firearms Protocol and the Program of Action on Small Arms that will turn 20. This will take place on July 26, 2021. Very important here to basically check the work of UNODA and UNODC in high-level events focused on the continued importance of the two instruments and the reflection on past achievements and challenges and thought on the way forward in the framework of the decade of action that is ongoing, the 2020s. The other thing that I could speak about from the UNEDA standpoint is related to the Step Up for Disarmament Action, a youth campaign that was launched on July the 16th in commemoration of the International Day Against Nuclear Tests and the 30th anniversary of the closure of the Semipalatinsk nuclear test sites. The United Nations Office for Disarmament Affairs, in partnership with the Permanent Mission of the Republic of Kazakhstan to the United Nations, launched this initiative, this youth campaign. It aims to raise awareness of the devastating health consequences of nuclear testing through the emphasis on physical activity. Sport plays a crucial role for many young people across the world. It provides a space to connect with others through a shared interest, a challenge to push oneself to reach our full potential, and a means to foster friendship and solidarity. The Step Up for Disarmament Youth campaign invites pretty much young people to utilize their sporting passion and ability through either running 8.29 kilometers or walking 10.9k steps, an approximate equivalent, to raise awareness of the International Day Against Nuclear Tests on August 29, 2021, and its cause to ban nuclear tests. Youth of all nationalities between the ages of 18 and 29 were invited to take part in the Step Up for Disarmament Youth campaign within their local communities and can be joined and supported by family, friends, and adults from all ages. So these are among the main actions and very important to commend this campaign that is organized by the Office for Disarmament Affairs. It's a good initiative. Speaking of COVID-19 now, I will speak on and off about it throughout the rest of the video. I heard about the positive cases of fully vaccinated people, White House official and the senior aide of Nancy Pelosi here in the United States. It's a huge challenge for the organizers of the Olympics in Japan, with already positive cases in the Olympic Village. See, it's more complicated than an international soccer event that could be organized under the premises of the FIFA or the UEFA, such as the World Cup and the Euro, due to the higher number of participants in the Olympic Games. For that fact, the majority of the competitors are taking place in one area, the Tokyo metropolitan area, instead of a whole country. Although we can argue when it comes to countries area with the fact that Qatar is also a small country for the 2022 World Cup, so Japan and Qatar are pretty much facing the same challenges respectively in this context of action. But when you compare also the Olympics with the FIFA World Cup or the UEFA Euro, the fact that instead of a month that you have for the soccer competition, you have only 17 days with all the around 30 disciplines that you have to have on schedule. The potential rescheduling will be a really daunting task in this context of action. On February the 14th this year, Bill Gates brought an important point to help with the goal of getting to zero emissions. If the goal was simply to emit 10% less, it will be a challenge to limit several human activities. The 2050 goals aims to have activities without emitting any greenhouse gases. It requires a thorough comparison of the current costs with the cost per unit and applying that math to the overall zero emission costs, which will equal the original current cost plus green premium. Jet fuels are a good example since there is a significant premium. In the United States, our average gallon of jet fuel is $2.20. One way to go green is instead of taking oil out of the ground, opting for biofuels as an option. That's $5.35 per gallon versus the 220 for jet fuel, which is basically leaving us with a $3.15 difference for green premium. Green premium is a tool, and this is where the role of research and development is ongoingly crucial to get green premiums as close to zero, getting mankind therefore to the 2050 goal of zero emissions. I'm not a politician, let's say, but I am not gonna lose business partners for anything in the world. Donald Trump brought back an important point regarding the critical race theory that constitutes a disaster for schools and for the United States. The cost per kid, long story short, is around 5 grand per year. Multiply that by schools per municipality or district, then per county, then per state. What's it under at a federal level? In the time of a global pandemic, an oil on fire budget. If I may, I encourage President Joe Biden to look into that with the Hill in Washington. Donald Trump spoke also about reopening schools, which joins an alarming and appalling topic due to COVID-19, not just in the US but at a global level, with the fears of the UNESCO and the UNICEF of having a lost generation, as online education will never replace real-life chemistry education. Education was anyways COVID before the pandemic started. In most cases, the teaching process never prepared kids for the challenges after school, making them believe on perfections through getting A pluses. It's good to have A pluses than Fs, but teaching them that achievement is a trophy, that their degrees are trophies, is a wrong message for life. It creates on them a feeling of guilt throughout the adulthood. Expertise, but within the expertise. Jack of all trades instead of master of one thing. The other proposition with the Goldman Sachs and clearly Gottlieb in New York is a take or leave. Apprendre ou à laisser. هزها ولا حطها. I already spoke about the snakes of finance of Park Avenue to Donald Trump Jr. long time ago. In terms of state politics, I suggest that Governor Murphy looks into the state of emergency at the level of Trenton when it comes to expanding it here in New Jersey. In terms of local politics, Mayor de Blasio spoke about an 18 months for New York City's rebirth from the ashes of the COVID-19 war, but it seems that day one of that 18 months will be once the medical front has abated. Eid Mubarak once again to all the Muslim community throughout the world. Stay tuned.